Alex Pereira is no longer champion, and the light heavyweight division, especially for his fallen foes, is wide open. Two of them now stand at the edge of an opportunity, Jamahal Hill and Khalil Rountree. Hill, the former champ, still chasing validation, once hailed as the future of the division, now shadowed by doubts and fighting off the label of overhyped and lucky.
What do you think he does the best that you're going to be most prepared for?
He gets beat up pretty well. Ultimately, it's about going in, implementing myself, implementing my game plan, and controlling the fight.
Rountree, violent, explosive, and carrying that unmistakable it factor after a gutsy war where he proved a lot of people wrong.
I think going against a former champ is a great time for me to prove what I'm capable of. Again, a victory over him should put me in title contention talk very soon.
This isn't just two guys trying to stay relevant. This is a crossroads, a reckoning for one, a riser for the other. These two were actually supposed to fight once before. It fell through. Timing, circumstances, bad luck, the usual in MMA. But for a fight like this, better late than never.
Thank you to the fighting business. Absolutely amazing.
One of my favorite new channels going right now.
I don't know if y'all remember, but Jamahal Hill is actually a former champion. This was during the dark ages when the division couldn't seem to find a champion. After a series of mishaps, Jamahal Hill, who was ranked I think number 9 in the world, found himself competing for the vacant title, and his opponent was an ancient Glover Teixeira. Hill beat the hell out of Glover that night and became champion, and I think the spectacle masked the substance. Here are the facts. Glover was 43 years old, had been fighting professionally for over 20 years, and had gone through a war with Yuri, but the fight was wild, bloody, and entertaining, and the night ended with a new champion, so the headlines were, Jamahal Hill is for real.
That was sensational, just unbelievable. I mean, the combinations were beautiful. As I say, the takedown defense was on point. Excellent grappling defense, excellent takedown defense. On the feet, he was deadly.
And we all bought it. Unfortunately, the curse over the light heavyweight division got Hill too, and just like Yuri before him, Hill was forced to vacate the title. While on the sidelines, Hill attempted to build his online brand, and he succeeded. Kind of. Before all of this, Hill was known to be a chill and reasonable dude, but on his podcast, Hill proclaimed that he was the best in the division. The title was just being kept warm for him, and most hilariously, he promised that he would knock out Alex Pereira.
And where y'all think he's just this otherworldly guy because he did kickboxing and I didn't do kickboxing. You know, this is a completely different sport. Whenever I do fight him, standing, I will knock him out. And when I do, I'm going to rub it in every single one of y'all face.
As promised by the UFC, Hill was given a title shot immediately upon his return, and his fight against Poatan was scheduled for the main event of UFC 300. And in the build-up, Hill decided to keep playing heel. He was already on thin ice with UFC fans, but when he trashed a fan favorite like Alex, the dislike and annoyance turned into hatred real quick. Hill was now one of the most disliked fighters in the company, and people wanted to see him humbled. Poatan made quick work of the former champion, knocking him out in the first round, but unfortunately for all of us, Hill was not humbled. He was back on his YouTube channel in no time at all, blaming the loss on the referee stepping in, calling out his detractors to show up to his gym, and even made a 40-minute video where he attempted to prove that Demetrius Johnson had the wrong idea.
He can slip this way or he can back up and go hard left.
If I threw my from the angle, hold on, pause that. The left hand would be terrible to throw. Seeing as how you can tell I'm leaning to my left. He's pausing it in moments that are just like, there's no engagement here, bro. These pauses weren't good.
Little known fact, because it was drowned out by all the yapping, but Hill versus Rountree was at one point set for UFC 303, but it all fell apart. Long story, and like I said, no one really remembers because Hill kept talking and talking, going after fighters such as Magomed and Yuri, and even going as far as to confront Alex Pereira at the UFC PI. This all built up nicely to Jamahal Hill, the biggest heel in the division, versus Yuri Prochazka at UFC 311, two former champions who were set to clash once upon a time or now in the octagon, and this was an important fight to win for both of them, but even more so for Hill. Yuri had a decent resume, while Hill's position in the division was based on one win. He had to win this. A loss here and it would mean that his championship run was a fluke, born out of circumstances and luck. Hill lost the fights, and it wasn't particularly competitive to be honest. He had a few moments, but for the most part, Yuri was ahead, and he proved that there was a big gap in skill between him, an actual elite of the division, and Hill, someone who is good, but not great enough. On the other hand, practically at the same time, we witnessed the rise of Khalil Rountree Jr. To add a bit more context, Rountree was removed from UFC 303 as he took a banned substance, but he was only given a 2-month ban because apparently the supplement was tainted and he took it unintentionally. As soon as he was eligible to compete, the UFC booked him in a title fight against Alex Pereira. Khalil did not deserve it, especially with Magomed right there, but the UFC went ahead with this decision, with Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree headlining UFC 307 in Salt Lake City. Poatan was a 5-1 favorite. He won the fight with his signature brutality, but on that night, Rountree introduced himself to the MMA world, and we had to respect him for it. Stood toe-to-toe, went punch for punch, ate that left over and over again. Hill and Yuri, 2 former champions, weren't able to do it, but Khalil more than held his own against Poatan and went down swinging.
He was the head on the scorecards, stayed in the pocket, put on one of the greatest fights anybody's ever seen, and he stays at number 8. It's just, I can't handle the incompetence. I can't take it anymore. It's driving me crazy.
Dana White himself said it. Khalil Rountree deserves a top spot in the ranking, but here's the thing. Maybe we're doing it again. Maybe we're going too fast. He did it with Hill, remember? 1 win over an aging Glover, and suddenly he was the guy. Crowned as the champion of a division in shambles, hyped as the future, until reality came knocking. We all got caught up in the moments, the war, the blood, the belt, and it wasn't until the dust settled that we realized maybe we overestimated him. And now, here we are, maybe running it back, this time with Khalil Rountree. Don't get me wrong, the man went to war with Pereira. That's not something you just overlook. He stood in the fire and he swung back. Respect, but let's not pretend that one gutsy performance in a loss is the same as a proven resume. It isn't. That's why this fight, Jamahal Hill versus Khalil Rountree, matters much more than people think. It's not just 2 names thrown on a card. For one of them, that'll be a reckoning. For the other, this is it. On paper, it's a fascinating clash of styles. This isn't going to the ground. There are no takedown threats here. Neither man is interested in wrestling, and even if they were, they don't have the tools to keep it there. This fight is going to be contested on the feet, in the pocket, and in the fire. Both are strikers, but they're not the same kind of striker. Jamahal Hill fights tall, can use his reach well, and has a sneaky sharp 1-2. He's not the most explosive guy, but he's accurate, and he also hits hard enough to put anyone out.
I think Hill is just an underrated fucking tough guy, and he'll force onto Khalil and single collar, knees to the body, and I think that's what you have to do against Khalil, is crowd him rather than play that little
Muay Thai game.
play at distance, you know, the Muay Thai game.
Yeah.
The problem is his base. After that injury, there's a real question about his movement, balance, and ability to take leg kicks. He wasn't great with movements to begin with, and you could see him regress and slow down even more in the Poatan and Yuri fights. Khalil Rountree, on the other hand, is a violent man. I'm not just saying that. It's just a fact. He throws every strike like it's meant to end your life, and his kicks are absolutely brutal. He's one of the few guys who can kill momentum with a single shot, but Rountree isn't invincible. His defense is lacking, and when he's pushed backward, he can get a little wild. If Hill can stay composed and control range, he might find the chin. But if Rountree cripples that lead leg early, Hill will be in trouble. Real trouble. There's no feeling out process here, no grappling exchanges, no boring clinch battle against the cage. This is going to be violent, immediately.
How good does Rountree look? That motherfucker, he throws some of the nastiest inside leg kicks, and so fast, Thai style,
but he was
with a light front leg. Dude, his timing, his speed was off the charts.
It's a high-stakes shootout between 2 men with something to prove. For Jamahal Hill, this is a resurrection. If he wins, he gets to silence the critics, prove that he's not a fluke, that he's still a contender, that the belt he once wore wasn't just a placeholder. But if he loses again, that's it. He becomes the guy who peaked once in extremely exceptional circumstances and was never relevant again. For Khalil Rountree, this is validation. He went toe-to-toe with Poatan, sure, but that was a loss. This is the fight that could cement him as a real player, not just a fan favorite. If he wins, especially if he finishes Hill, he truly deserves that top spot. If he loses, however, the hype fades and he becomes another fighter who was just almost there. So yeah, maybe this isn't a title eliminator on paper, but make no mistake, this is a career-defining moment for both men, and with a new champion at the top, the entire division is watching. Is Jamahal Hill still a real threat, or was his reign a perfect storm, the right place, the right time, and nothing more? Is Khalil Rountree truly on the rise, or are we once again falling in love with the moment and ignoring the long game? Whatever happens, this fight will answer questions that stats can't. It's not a title eliminator, but it might just eliminate someone from the conversation for good.